curious if it's cheaper to buy or rent here in Fort Myers, Florida in 2023, then you're going to want to keep watching this video, because that's what we're going to dive into. So first, let's talk about home ownership. What are the costs associated with it, right? Everyone's kind of nervous right now. There's a high interest rate. Actually, property values are up. But what else comes with that? Well, utilities. You know, if you're renting, maybe some of that's included. But when you own your own home, you're going to be paying for water. You're going to be paying for electric. You're going to be paying for any type of city assessments, depending on where you're at, to take care of things. Something breaks, you're on the hook for it. You got to fix it. So some of these costs could add up, especially when it comes to taxes, but we do have the Homset Exemption, which if you're a permanent resident of Florida, it's a matter of months that you live down here, that you can prove you actually get money off of your actual assessed value. So it lowers your taxes and it also protects it. It can only raise so much per year. So that is a benefit for it, but there are costs that come with it. So right now, what is the median home price? Well, as of today, the median home price in this area, Fort Myers, Florida, and surrounding, is about $410,000 a year. Or sorry, $410,000 total. So let's just do some simple math. Average interest rate is about 7% right now, right? So if you do 7% interest rate, a 30-year loan at $410,000, you're looking at roughly, and let me look like exact number here, about $2,430 a month. All right, kind of a little up there, right? But that is getting you towards that home ownership after 30 years. So that's a good number to understand. And when it comes down to numbers, like show me, right? I can give you my opinion right now, but I wanted to show you simple numbers of what is happening. So home ownership, remember this number, your mortgage is going to be roughly $2,430, right? All right. Renting a house, you have more flexibility, right? You don't have to worry if something breaks, you call the landlord, get it fixed. However, how soon are they going to get there to fix it, right? So you're kind of at the mercy of them. If you sign a lease, maybe it's only a year, maybe it's less, but typical rent leases are about a year. So you can come and go as you please. You want to check out different areas. There's some nice flexibility with that. However, you're also at the mercy of someone else. I've known people that were renting, and either the house was sold or the person didn't want to renew their lease. Now they got to find some place to live, right? So there's some flexibility with renting. However, you don't have complete control. So as you noticed before, we talked about what the average mortgage payment would be for home ownership, but the average rent, right? So the average rent right now, and I want to get this number exactly correct, for September of 2023 is $2,495 a month. That's the average rent. It's actually $70 more than last year at this time. So guess what? Rent also can go up. Your mortgage is typically locked in unless you have some type of balloon payment. So let's compare these two numbers real quick, right? Rent right now, $2,495. Mortgage payment, $2,430. It's actually a little bit cheaper depending on what you get if you're going to buy. So I want to keep going in this, but these are factors I really think you should think about, because you can either continue renting and pay off someone else's mortgage or pay off your own. There are areas you can go to. Now, I said that's the average price of $410,000 for a mortgage. However, maybe just get something smaller. Typically, there's a saying that this is my starter home. It's smaller, maybe it's a condo, whatever it is, because you're probably not there forever. How many homes have you owned in your life? You know, I'm actually on my third right now. Stuff changes, but what's great about owning real estate is you have the equity that comes with it. Friends of mine that if you go to their house and you find, you know, they did trades work, but you go to their home and you're like, how did you get this? Being a tradesman, you know, you make a decent salary in these trades, even public safety, but you're like, how did you do it? Most of these people owned real estate. So they owned multiple properties and rented them out, and actually that person ended up paying off their mortgage, they got equity, and they just keep reinvesting that. All right, that's how they made their money. So I don't see how owning real estate right now would be a bad thing because of the equity factor. I've had equity in almost all my homes. I did own something during the recession, and that was not a positive equity. However, it typically is a safe bet with it. But let's keep going on. So we already talked about equity that you're going to be building in it, which is huge as far as getting the finances for it. But let's talk about some down payment, right? So typically it's about 10% you got to come up with, all right? Do you have $41,000 laying around? Do you not? But there's mortgage programs out there that I've seen as little as 3% wanted down. I have heard of zero down. I don't know of any loan programs at this moment that have that. But there are areas, if you shop around, you won't have to come up as much, or your loan offers can be creative with it, and I've got someone that can do that for you if it's something you're interested in. But you do have to come up with that down payment. Don't let it scare you. You don't have to come up with 20% for your first home. It could be 10% or less depending on the loan parameters. But let's talk about short-term, long-term, right? So I kind of told you about it before. When you're owning something, you get equity in it. Renting is kind of short-term. It's pretty rare you see someone that just rents the whole time, right? Because when you're done, you're done. Like, you've got nothing to show for it. However, owning, you build that equity that we talked about, and maybe 20 years, 30 years down the line, you could have $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in equity on it to pull out and maybe move someplace else, whatever, however you want to do it, but it's building. I've actually built more in my property than investing in other things. So it's a good long-term game. Actually, I saw something, I wish I would have thought of it. I guess I still can, but I put a 529 account to put some money away for my kids' college, and people are like, just go buy a house, rent it out, and then when the kids are college age, you can sell it, use the equity, or give it to them. There's someone else could have paid off. And I'm like, that's genius, right? Imagine being able to do that for a family member. Hey, I'm not giving you money, but I'm giving you this property. It's got this equity. You can live in it for free or sell it and use it. It is what it is, right? So there's definitely a lot of advantages towards owning, and you can really get creative, which I'm still learning that process and I kind of want to dive into myself. That's why I like sharing this stuff with you. So we kind of talked about a few different things of owning and renting. I believe if you watch this, I'm a little bit biased more towards owning, but you got to figure out what do you want and what works for you. I've actually talked to people, especially if they're relocating. Hey, if you want to rent first and check out the area, great. The big thing is once you lock in at owning, even if you got something smaller, you're gonna start building that equity pretty quickly, and there's no equity with rent. It's just you're just surviving, right? You're treading water. However, when you're owning something, you're on a boat. You're out, you're fishing, whatever. You know what I mean? It's a little bit bigger step forward and a better long-term investment. So that being said, whether you're deciding to move or sell with 9 days or 90 days, do me a favor, shoot me a text, give me a call, book a Zoom call with me, because I'd love to show you around town.